Hey, what's going on, guys? So, I wasn't sure if I should write this one or do the video recording thing I do because this is actually something that I feel passionate about, and this is live. I can't edit it, so there's going to be a lot of mistrained thoughts and stuttering, and I'm going to be all over the place with this. But I ultimately thought I could express myself better by doing it this way. Um, so I just watched Take Your Pills, the new Netflix documentary about Adderall, and it just anytime I watch something like this, it just brings up a whole bunch of emotions for me because that's my story. I was pulled out of mainstream classes, like regular classes in the third grade, for right or for wrong, and put on. At the time, Ritalin wasn't even that big. I started on. I can't think of the name of it. It was actually Trucker Speed. The street name was Black Beauties, which is crazy. I mean, a 6 year old kid on straight amphetamines. Then Dexatrine, which a lot of you remember from the weight loss medication, and also the one that the mom abuses in Requiem for a Dream. And then ultimately Ritalin. I got my medical records here. You know, Ritalin in the 7th grade. I was on a ridiculous dose by then. It was like, what the hell was it? That's what I was just going over. So much so that I had tics. I mean, that's what it says right here. But I'll get to that. Again, I apologize for being all over the place with this one. But, yeah, I don't know, man. Now that I'm of the age of kids, of my friends having kids, I'm not against medication, but I'm so against them caving in and just giving it to them out of desperation, which I think happens a lot of the times. For me, I mean, again, man, maybe I should have written this instead of recording it, but what am I trying to say? I don't know if it was right or wrong to this day, and that's what messes me up the most. The first half of my life, I was a nutball. I get it. I don't blame my parents at all. I mean, they were just doing what doctors told them to do, and I truly believe that they did it out of my own well-being, right or wrong. I mean, could they have waited on some things and not gone to medication? Yeah, sure, but everybody makes mistakes. And that's why I just don't want to see people make the same mistakes, And that's how it's become such a problem for me in later life, is because I don't know. I stopped in and around the end of high school. I've never taken Adderall, but I've taken everything else. In truth, Adderall there's a last chemical in Adderall that actually makes it different than Ritalin and the other drugs. It's actually just a chemical away from methamphetamine. It's essentially meth in a lower dose. The same way that heroin is Oxycontin or any of the opiate, Vicodin, just in a lower dose. But it still has the same effect as a high dose when it hits the brain. If you want, this is actually a really good documentary that will go through all of that stuff. So I mean, as far as like a review for the documentary, it was great, but I just wanted to kind of, like, again, it just motivates me to talk about my end of it, which, like I said, I mean, I get lost in, I was kind of had this all thrust on me at a young age before I could really comprehend any of it, and like I said, apparently here, I started to have problems eventually. It says, I have suggested to her, meaning my mother, that the high dose of Ritalin is in fact, of Ritalin that he is on, total of 70 milligrams, is probably contributing to some of the tics that he is experiencing. I had tics, I think at one point it says I was making dove noises. I mean, I was a crazy kid, dude. Crazy. But I was never bad. I got in a lot of fights. I was angry. I had problems. I was a problematic child, but I was not bad. I didn't have run-ins with the law. I didn't hurt people. I was a wacko. But so are a lot of other kids. I mean, that doesn't mean that there's something necessarily wrong with them. And that's my problem with ADHD. There's no clear-cut way to say, do you have this or do you don't? I mean, they give you this little questionnaire, and especially back then, it was just, they just gave them to everybody. That was the test. Hey, take this. If it helps, great. You know, but who knows what's going to happen to you later in life. And that's sort of the point I'm making, as in where early on, I couldn't be caged. I couldn't be kept still. I was all over the place, you know. I mean, but I was a kid, and I see other kids like that, and I hear them parents start talking like, oh, you know, maybe he has ADHD, and I hate that. It's like, wait it out, you know. Because now I know later in life, I have all these things, you know, what people want to call like depression, you know. It's the exact opposite. Like, you know, sometimes I feel like the weight, like a crushing weight. It's so hard to get out of bed and get moving and get, so it's like, to me, I'm like wondering if, and again, I probably should have written all this instead of spoken out loud, but, you know, did those medications do something to the neural pathways in my brain that are making me the exact opposite now? Or is it that I actually do have ADHD and I haven't been on medication since high school? And like, that's sort of the thing. You know, I'm crazy vigilant now. Like, I truly believe that taking medication, I mean, we all know it has side effects, but I think they do change things. And like, if you know, maybe not that drastic, but you're not going to be the same person after you're done taking medication for a long time. I think it does change, especially these kinds. Like, and that's my point in saying it, as in where I find myself in adult life to be the exact, I wish I could get back that kind of energy and pep that I had, you know. Because now it's like I said, like an anti-problem. I'm isolated a lot of times. When I get depressed, I can't get out of bed. I sleep for a long extended period, and I'm talking like, you know, this isn't like, oh, he's depressed. Like, no, man, my room could be on fire, and I'd be like, fuck it, roll over and go back to sleep. It's like that bad, you know. So is it, again, it's just this like this thing, this dilemma, this catch-22 of, was this something that I actually had, and then by treating it, or I'm sorry, was this something I actually had, and now that it's not being treated, it's a problem in a different form? Or were these things just thrust upon me, and now as an adult, I've got so used to being told that I couldn't do things, and I couldn't, I mean, you know, and that's another, again, I knew I was going to jump around, but that's a huge thing too in my later life. Is for a long time, I mean, the word, you know, to compare myself to other people, I can't think of the word I'm trying to say, but inadequate, that's the word I'm looking for. My inadequacies were insane. And in a lot of ways, I think I'm more intelligent than most people I know. But the things that I don't know how to do or didn't know how to do, I'm getting better. Obviously, I'm not trying to make like a boo-hoo for me post here, but you know, those who know me, there was just things that, because, and I'm again, there I go, the jumping around topics, but I've had this happen to me once before where there was a big discussion on ADHD, special education, medicines, and I always get, not emotional, but just, you know, well, yeah, it wells things up in me, and I get motivated to talk about it, because I don't know where one thing begins and where the other ends now in life. And I also think that there was a lot of mistakes done. That, yeah, so, and that's what I'm trying to say, like, so at one point I actually looked into this, wondering if I could do anything to help. And I found out that now, excuse me, they don't take kids and put them in special programs anymore. For the most part, they keep them mainstreamed and give them extra help or whatever, because I also feel it becomes this like self-fulfilling prophecy, especially for me. And back in the 80s, what they did, that's exactly what they did. They would segregate you, medicate you, and just babysit you, you know? And yeah, a lot of that's on me, but a lot of that's on the system too. Like, I didn't learn anything. You know, I mean, I guess it's debatable if I would have sat still and I would have tried, or you know, if I would have been capable of it anyway. But you know, back then, especially like by the time I was in high school, I was put into a program called Project Free, and even before that, as I'm saying, in reality, I have not been in school since the third grade. I stopped going to school in third grade when they put me in special ed, because after that, it wasn't a matter of schooling. It was just getting them by, babysitting, giving them ditto sheets. I mean, shit, I think back then I was still coloring, you know? Most people are learning their arithmetic. We're doing like, you know, ditto sheets. And this isn't the shit on anybody that has learning disabilities. But I think we were done a disservice where we weren't taught anything at all. So by the time, you know, a lot of people managed to just get by in that system, which was very easy, and I kick myself for not, you know, for not completing it. But I need to, you know, hold on. I'm gonna do this in two parts because I need to catch what I'm trying to say.